asthma video, and I just burped into a camera.
Hey everyone, welcome. Hey, it's not a happy hour, but kind of it is because Kevin's here. It's the Assimer. September Patron Hangout with special guest Kevin Logan. So hello everyone watching, and hello.
Yeah, I haven't given you a fucking penny, but I'm here anyway. So.
No, but actually you owe me €7, so I'm gonna get you on. Then technically you could join every month if you wanted. Because that's how he was going to pay for the podcast. Was he was going to join my Patreon? Yeah, guys. Well, welcome to another Hangout. So first we'll do. I don't want it to go too long because we've got a lot of stuff to get through tonight. But let's do a quick check-in with how everybody's doing tonight. So, Joe, you want to start? How are things with you, Joe?
I'm good. I'm petting a cat.
Oh, well, that's
always kitty.
Oh, that will always yes. Lowest blood pressures. Oh. Get lock on that. Oh, look at the kitty. Oh, okay. Well, we might just keep that locked on the entire happy hour. Sorry, hangout. Kev, you're up next. How are you doing?
But other than the constant impending dread of the inevitable swan dive into the chasm of nothingness of death, I'm good.
Later.
I'm sick. I don't like to be sick.
Oh, yes, you are. So you're going to be more here in spirit than in like participation.
Like I said on Facebook, I can take my fibro and my arthritis, but I can't take a cold.
That's all right. Well, you don't have to, say anything. I mean, unless someone makes you angry, and then you can shout at them a little bit. You might get a little adrenaline rush. So, Anna.
And in your defense, those are the things don't go away either. So.
Yeah. Oh, I'm good. I finally found a cleaning lady for my flat. I found 2 local orchestras, so I can do music again. So, yeah.
I would like to find a cleaning lady or a man, because I spent a total of 7 hours on my flat this weekend. Just part of the reason why I needed a nap today. Yeah, but
I can send you the link to the website. That's mine.
Well, yeah. At the moment, not in the budget.
Quickly, show what you're knitting, please, Marianne.
Yes, I was going to ask.
This is
it's locked on now.
An almost finished sweater for the older son of my cousin.
Nice.
Yes, his favorite color is pink.
Nice. And what colors?
It looks a little bit. It looks like a cocktail dress for like a squirrel or something.
It's not much bigger. So
it's very cute.
It's it will be sleeveless and has a V-neck. So this is the last few rows of the back panel.
Is that self-strapping yarn?
Yes, this one.
Looks Southwestern. Looks Southwestern American.
That's what I thought too.
Native American.
Like it could have come out of Arizona or something.
I had the same thought too.
Mexico too, or New Mexico. Looks like Santa Fe, New Mexico.
So, very warm color choices.
Yeah.
Random geek.
All right. Well, okay. So I'm for the most part doing well, and I'm going to quickly just turn on my camera.
I've got you locked down already.
I am looking very different today. The hat we've all seen before. I showed it off before, but I figured the hat will go well with the jacket. I also shave. I decided to go with a new look and just go with just the mustache.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't bury the lead. That is a tash for the ages, my friend.
Yes, I can grow up money fine tash. And now the jacket, which I just got for basically free because someone just put it out at work for anyone to grab, and so I was like, you know what? Let's see if I can walk back further so you can see it well. Because, yep, this is the new jacket.
I see shiny leggings. I'm going to scream.
Yes, first of all, the T-shirt, because I'm an anime fan. This is Makoto from Kill la Kill as in her Fight Club outfit, where she dressed up like JoJo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but it's a mock-up because it's mocking with the poster of Fight Club, which is why she has a soap. But so that I don't hit the mic and so that Leto can get them. The leggings. I needed another fish scale leggings, and I decided to go with fuchsia.
Nice. Very shapely.
I almost bought a pair, but they don't look very. I don't think my skin would take that kind of fabric.
Well, I have to say, you have a very much a Canadian Mountie look from
Yes.
going on at the moment.
Okay, with the fabulous one.
And with the mustache, I'm seeing a bit of John Candy in there.
My first thought
I'm gonna
was
say is
RCMP. Mounties. Look
Yep.
like a Mountie.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Is that not what I said? Because that's what was in my head. But maybe
that's what you said.
Oh, okay. Thought maybe something came different.
Okay.
I'm like Dudley Do-Right with a mustache. Well, don't just do something. Stand there. It took them half an hour to figure that out.
Well, and then finally, and actually this works out well, because Tom, you're going to tell us how you were and give us a report from the Secular Women Works Con that you attended since the last Hangout.
Yeah. How I am is I've recovered from the conference mostly. It's almost literal, actually. But yeah, the conference was about a month ago in Minneapolis. Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, and it was put on by Black Non-Believers organization, the Minnesota Atheists, and Secular Women. And it's got a lot of co-sponsors by atheist groups and secular groups, and it's I'm not sure how you want to do this. Do you want me to go down the conference, what each presentation was, or do you want me to give you more impressions?
Yeah, I think impressions and maybe reference the talks that you attended if there are things that stood out. Maybe take you like 7 minutes or something like that.
Okay.
10 minutes.
All right, because I could go much longer and still not say very much, I suppose. One of the things that I thought was interesting was there was an emphasis on how to be an ally without taking over, and they talked about how when people are allies of marginalized people, women, black people, black women, atheists, things like that. There's a tendency for the allies, which is most of us would be allies or want to be allies, aspire to be allies in one way or another. And there's a tendency for ally enthusiasm to take over and have people and speak for people instead of actually being letting the marginalized people lead. One of the things that struck me about specifically Black non-believers, that was Mandisa Thomas and Bridget Crutchfield. Mandisa Thomas organized this in the first place, and Bridget Crutchfield is just a spark plug in the Detroit part of the organization. Is that they started from a position of feeling excluded, feeling marginalized in many communities, Black and non-believing and secular and into social justice, already funnels them down into some very specific marginalized situations. And Mandisa Thomas especially decided that she was tired of having fights where she was always the minority, and people were talking over her, talking for her. So she just created an organization, Black Non-Believers. And the organization was not just to promote Black atheists or Black female atheists within the atheist movement, which is, pretty important. And, all the shitlords wonder why there aren't more women in atheism. And, it's you guys. But she really took the bull by the horns, decided that Black non-believers, there's more to being a Black person, Black non-believer, Black atheist, Black, secularist, than just non-believing. And so the, excuse me, the organization she started, it was a membership organization, brought people together who were committed to a vision of a secular, actually social justice, and being active in the community and creating community. And so there's no separation, Black, white, any kind of person, any color, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation can come into the organization, and they support the hell out of each other. And they get the word out about secularism and about social issues that they are concerned with. And it sounds like a very solid organization. If I talk about them more than anything, it's because Mandisa Thomas and Bridget Crutchfield were probably the most powerful people that I met at the conference, and it was this dynamism, this inclusiveness, and this not standing for any bullshit that struck me. So quickly, some other things that struck me were they taught, there was a workshop on how to not burn out, and one of the big things that came out of that was to recognize the limitations that people have, and to be able to share responsibilities so that one person isn't taking everything. And as a big part of that, to recognize the volunteers, to recognize the people who are involved in this overtly. Oh geez, there's an awful, like I say, I could go on forever. I got notes up the wazoo, but those are probably some of the biggest things that I'm remembering. If people have questions, we could do that.
Sure.
One of the
Yeah, Tom, should we do like about another 5 minutes of questions? I'm sorry,
yeah,
I'm
well,
interrupting
I have the other thing that struck me too is the last session I was able to go to was resistance through art, and I'm echoing. Well, why am I echoing?
Yeah, I'm hearing that too.
Yeah, I was just going to go through the mics. Keep talking, Tom.
Okay. Resistance through art was talking about how you can take how art is so important in music and also visual arts. There's a woman, very impressive woman named Gretchen Koch, who writes or does a cartoon called Giant If, and I posted a few of those over on my Facebook feed, and it's okay. And one of the things that came out of that is just a reminder to everybody, when you use artist stuff, even when you're retweeting or reposting something on Facebook, if you can find, if the artist is not credited, find a credited copy of a version of that image and use that instead of just cropping out the credit.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's very important for if nothing else, the encouragement of people on our side who are putting themselves out there in the art, in a very powerful art field, you know, a very powerful medium.
Right.
So there's that. That's probably it. Just one thing to say. I don't know if I said this much online or anywhere, but I was feeling my age. I'll say that. My back was killing me. The chairs are awful. I had fallen the day before the conference started and really racked up my knee. And the Saturday night of the after I came back to my son's place after the conference, I fell again and racked up both my knees badly and hit my head. And so the next day, excuse me, the next day I was a little bit woozy and in a fair bit of pain. And so after the 10 o'clock presentation, that was the Resistance Through Art presentation, I just took off. I screwed you guys out of an afternoon of workshops. But okay, and two last things here on my presentation thing. One last thing is that there were videos of most of the presentations and panels. And those, I was told, should be finished rendering and being edited by the end of, in a week or two from now.
Okay.
And then sometime after that, they will be released. I don't know how widely they'll be released, but I have a couple messages in about whether I can share them with you guys. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but
no, we'll promote them here, of course.
Oh yeah, but what I'm saying is that if anyone is interested, and I think you might be, boy, of this stuff, there will be videos that should be available to you guys, and as soon as they're available, I'll let you know. The second thing, excuse me.
Looks like A&W root beer.
No, it's actually this Tipo Cola. I should have said A&W. I got a float. I got a root beer float in the middle of the fall. That's wonderful. I'm so middle American. I'm gonna do a little sock hop on my jalopy.
Yeah.
God, people were doing that when I was a kid. Anyway, last thing is that I got a bunch of swag from the conference. Some was free, some I paid for. And I was able to get a whole bunch of a few things and a bunch of other things. And what I've already, SR Geek already knows, maybe Kristi too. I put them up on the group website, the pictures of each of them. And I'm going to go back. I just did it before this, and I'm going to go back and put how many of each I have. And if anybody wants them, I will say how many I've gotten, and just after each comment, after the picture in the comment, just comment your name and that you want that, and be aware that the limited stuff will go to the first X number of people that ask.
Sure. Yeah, we can work that out.
And the Kristi, I believe, is coming to America in a month or so. And I hope to get together with her and share this, give her the European swag. So that
she has to come see you because she has something to give to you.
Yes, I know, and I'm eager to see it. I've been dreaming about it for a year.
My son is,
year. Oh,
okay.
It's been about a year, and that's fine. You know, it comes up precisely correctly for me because it's my son, and his birthday is in October, so it'll work out just fine. Anyway, that's my report. Any questions or concerns, or you want to just go on to the report?
Does anyone have anything? Otherwise, we can always ask you too in the group, and we can follow up when some of the videos are.
Did you make friends?
Yeah, was it a good con? Would you recommend it?
Oh yeah, I'd recommend it. I found out a couple things about myself. One is that I'm painfully shy.
No.
And two, that I'm incredibly painfully shy around people in places where I don't have some sort of implied or implicit privilege.
Like a title or a job or.
Well, that, and also it was a conference of focusing on women. All the presenters were women. It was focused on women and minorities, and I'm like neither. So it was. I was very conscious of that, and conscious of not trying not to talk over people, not trying. I try to feel what it's like to be in the minority, what it's like to feel in a place where my privilege doesn't matter or is actually reversed.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of the conference not knowing what the fuck I was supposed to do, and letting other people take a lead. And that, along with my natural shyness, made it, it was awkward. I did meet a lot of people, and I did meet a lot of really great people. But that's sort of actually Bridget Crutchfield, like I said, was a spark plug. She's a Black non-believer leader in Detroit, and she's just a firebrand. And her, I talked with her after, actually when I was about to leave. She happened to be where I could talk to her, and we got talking about this and that. And she said herself that she is also painfully shy still today. And I was thinking, holy shit, I don't believe that. But she said, when I get fired up, I'm very animated. And I said, oh, me too. It's sort of that way, when I'm in, and then we got animated, talked about a few things, and then we had to do other things. But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it was a good time. Thanks for going on our behalf, Tom.
Thank you for sending me.
Yeah. Well, guys, we had brought Kevin on. I invited him because of his Manospherian expertise. And I thought we would go over this. One, because it's a piece of social research that's interesting. And two, I thought it might be interesting if people wanted to ask questions and do it live. So, Kevin, did you say you'd read the report?
I have indeed, yes.
Wow, yes. I think I gave you about a day's notice. So well done on catching up with the homework.
Kristi, God bless you, but this is my ballpark, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Very much
this
so.
This is what I do.
Yeah, because really,
so I'd read it before you asked me to.
Oh, you nerd. Right, so this report came out this week. I think it was.
Lucas talking.
It's called Alternative Influence Broadcasting the Reactionary Right on YouTube. And many YouTuberians are very, very mad at its author, Rebecca Lewis, and the Data and Society organization that put it together. I already heard that this is some sort of left-wing cabal. Data and Society is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that was initially funded by a grant from Microsoft. And its charge is looking at changes in the media or digital and media. And so this is very much within their bailiwick, and it's not a big SJW conspiracy. So
also, come on, congratulations on the use of bailiwick. That's not a word you hear every day.
It is a lot more sophisticated than the earlier ballpark.
Yes, indeed. But frankly, ballpark is all I fucking know.
So actually, the executive summary is really helpful, and if it's okay with you guys, I'm just going to kind of run it down because I think people on the right who are named in this are basically looking at the figure and only the figure. And there's a question, there's a figure in here that names names, and I don't get the sense that they're actually looking at the study and what it was about, and that's what I wanted to do here. So this is available online. You can go and get the PDF. I will run through this, and then I would like to get Kevin's take on the report itself, and then we can open it up for more questions. I've got parts of the report that I've underlined that we can make specific reference to, but otherwise we can talk a little bit later about her methods and her data and other things. But and actually, maybe I should talk about that now. Right. So this comes from an approach in media studies. And the new media, social media, digital media, this is all a very new and emerging field. And it comes out of communications, it comes out of marketing and capitalism and things like that. And what she does in the study is she takes a time period. She looks at the time period like from the end of 2017 through the first part of 2018, I think. We can look at the exact dates. So she takes a sample of YouTube in that time space. Then she makes observations. She watched all of these videos, hundreds and hundreds of hours of videos, and she noted when people appeared on channels together.
Not as many as me.
Not as many as you, that's true. Because that's what her thesis lays out, that basically people who are trying to get influence on YouTube, when they join together, they're bringing their audiences together and they're cross-sharing ideas with other audiences and growing their audiences by reaching out to new people. She went and did her observations. Now, we can look at her executive summary to see some of the conclusions that she comes to. And then she did a network analysis, which just looks at how many times people appear on certain channels and with whom they appear, and the rates of which are distributed in this sort of node map that we can look at. But what this executive summary says is that this report identifies and names the Alternative Influence Network, an assortment of scholars, that Jordan Peterson, media pundits, Dave Rubin, and internet celebrities who use YouTube to promote a range of political positions, from mainstream versions of libertarianism, conservatism, all the way over to overt white nationalism. So she's looking at the political right of the spectrum. That's why Kevin's not on there. That's why I'm not on there. She's looking at people on YouTube who are in the center right to the far right. Content creators in the AIN claim to provide an alternative media source for news and political commentary, like This Week in Stupid. Sorry, what was that, Kevin? We could hear you.
Am I here?
Yeah, you're here.
So to say, because people asked specifically why I wasn't like on there, because I'd been on with various of these people, and indeed I was on. She mentions specifically in one of the bits, the hangout they did on the Warski Richard Spencer thing, which I was on that hangout as well. But the point is, it's these people who have similar views. I went on there to offer an alternative view, so I'm not network, if that makes sense.
Right. Right. So the content creators in this AIN claim to provide alternative media sources for political commentary. They function as political influencers, and this is important because, again, this is coming from marketing and social media studies. These are people who adopt techniques of brand influencers, like in marketing, to build their audience and sell them on a far-right ideology. Kevin doesn't do that. I don't do that. But, Carl is on the most far-right political party there is in the UK that isn't the BNP. And he is selling that. So clearly, yes, he is trying to be a political influencer. And again, the framework of what counts as a influencer is adopted from brand influence out of marketing. So it reports on approximately 65 political influencers across 81 channels, and it's connected through a dense system of guest appearances, mixing content from various ideologies. And this cross-promotion of ideas forms a broader reactionary position. What is reactionary in this paper? General, somebody's typing. Sorry.
I think that's Tom.
Okay. Yeah, if you could just mute yourself, that's okay. So what is reactionary? It's opposition to feminism, opposition to social justice, and opposition to left-wing politics. So you can see anti-feminist, anti-social justice, anti-cultural Marxist postmodernists. That's what she's looking at. And she says that basically they present themselves in specific ways.
Great.
That they establish an alternative sense of their credibility based on the fact that they know their audience. Sargon does live hangouts. right? He does this thing, you know, he's interacting with his audience. Authenticity, they're offering like their firsthand accounts, their personal stories, and that connecting makes people believe them more than a traditional media outlet. And accountability, which there was an interesting part of the paper where she talks about how viewers give accountability to the content creators by giving them feedback. And then obviously content creators give audience to their ideas and can radicalize them, but audiences can also radicalize their content creators by demanding more right-wing content. Then she talks about basically engagement techniques of brand influencers that they themselves use. That's testimonials. Here it's ideological testimonials, self-branding. Here it's political self-branding, like the liberalists. Search engine optimization, how they make their stuff findable, and also strategic controversy, the way that they tend to, you know, focus on various dramas in order to keep their audiences engaged. And so as a whole, they facilitate radicalization through social networking practices. Audiences are able to easily move from mainstream to extreme content through guest appearances and other links. And the influencers themselves often shift to more radical positions following interactions with other influencers or their own audiences. And that's what this report is really about. So now that I've laid that out and given the methodology and also limitations, she's not talking about all time. She's talking about the time frame that she was doing her work in. Kevin, I have to say before I get to my other patrons, I'm sorry, I think they're interested too. What's your Manospherian take on this report?
I think it's actually a really interesting piece of work. It's sort of impossible to get a full grasp, it seems to me, on quite how these people engage in the feedback of extremism. That's the really interesting point. It's not just that the content creators are making the audiences more extreme, but vice versa as well. And it's kind of impossible to fully grasp that in any one paper. It would need, I mean, the reason I do this is because no one else was, and this is something that and people much larger and more important than I in terms of academia and politics need to look into this, because there is undoubtedly this, via the cross-promotional techniques that you outlined, or what the paper outlined, create a swamp from which I think right-wing radicals in terms of ideas, but terrorists. We've seen this with Charlottesville and various other places.
Kevin, you're breaking
where
up
they
a
come
lot.
from.
Yeah, sorry, you're breaking up a lot. I was wondering if maybe you could drop to audio only, because it's very important. I want people to hear what you have to say.
Okay, 1 second. I'll have to actually go back to the Google Hangouts page.
And also, while you're doing that,
Apologies.
I'll say the example that the author used in the report, because I'm sure there's a larger paper behind this that's peer-reviewed and it has, you know, will publish the data and everything. She mentions how Blair White, when she first put up her first feminism video, it was kind of like, I don't really know if I like pop feminism and what people are saying. And then people in the comments asked if she had talked to Sargon of Akkad, and she said, well, set it up with Sargon's people. And the next time she made a video, it was, you know, feminism is cancer kind of thing.
Makes total sense to me.
Yeah. So, Kevin, are you, are we blind now but can hear you?
Right.
Are we lost but found?
Yes, you are back, and that's wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm fucking glad about that. Apologies. Oh my God, I've gone back to very low. No, not very low. Audio only. God damn your computer. It's got a mind of its own. Anyway, yes. So anyway, yeah, that kind of cross between channels and the vice versa, the kind of ironically, an echo chamber of radicalization, where the audiences radicalize the content creators almost as much as the content creators radicalize the audiences.
Right.
And it's when you get to, we'll get to the graph. The thing that's controversial, the only thing that these people have looked at, because they don't read the words, they're not interested in it, but they've looked at the pretty picture. And it's really difficult to get a full grasp of quite how that works, because it's incredibly messy. Like the London tube map, it's so intensely kind of crammed in there that it's difficult to comprehend the whole. But it's actually a very interesting piece of work, which I think is, it's obviously going to be derided, because this is what these people do. Anytime there's any level of ambiguity or nuance or detail, it can be blown up. And you've seen these people go, oh, they've connected Chris Reagan to Richard Spencer. Oh, that's ridiculous. But for me, the way I explain it is like a sliding scale of extremism, where you've got people like Chris Ray Gunn and like Blair White or whatever on the softer end, who will sell you some Trumpian bullshit, but generally aren't that sort of extreme or intense with it. And they're a kind of gateway drug, if you will, to the harder people like Sargon and Dankula or whatever. And it goes down and down until eventually it's like Stormfront. And it really is. I mean, you've got people on that graph like Lana Lockteff, who works for Red Ice Radio, who's just unabashedly neo-Nazi.
Yeah. So before we get onto the graph, I did want to point out, for instance, people are so obsessed with the graph and they're looking at the names on it and looking at the lines. But I think I've said this before, that occasionally I will fight with V in the DMs of my Twitter. And we were fighting about this. He was saying, when have I ever appeared on Mike Enoch's channel, or when has Mike Enoch ever appeared on my channel? This data is bullshit. And I did a search on YouTube and I read the description. The description is two influencers appearing on the same program. These programs last 4 hours, right? So I found a JF Garapay live stream where V and Mike Enoch both appeared. And I took a screenshot of it and I sent it to him. And he's like, "Oh, so you read the fine print?" I'm like, "Yeah, I read the freaking fine print on these studies."
Well, as I said, they don't. These people don't read the words. They've just looked at the nice pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, Destiny has like noses too. He would like do studies. He'd read all these studies, and present them to these right-wing people, and they'll go, "Oh, you're using the per capita argument." Well, yes. Or it's like they just like, well, I was only going off of anecdotal accounts. I wasn't going for data. And Destiny's like, why the hell did I did all that research then?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, Kristi mentioned it there about from the report about anecdotes, and quite literally, when Lauren Southern, who's on the list, and Destiny, who I think is very unfortunate to have been on the list, but could be argued had given these people a platform or whatever. When Lauren Southern was on his show, she literally said the line that data is the plural of anecdote, which made my brain melt. I mean, I just. Ridiculous.
Kinsey tried that with the sex survey, and we realized why you need random probability sampling, because it's snowball sampling and going by anecdotes.
Well, there's nothing sexier than random sampling.
Oh, I have to tell you, you just never know where things are going to pop up. But yeah, I would agree. Also on this report, like I agree with Kevin. I said this on our last hangout that I kind of raised my eyebrows at the Destiny classification. So I'm not accepting this uncritically or just, oh, it's published and peer reviewed, therefore it's got to be great. But I looked at her endnotes and she's done her research and she spent this time and she's done a clear data analysis. So people can complain and attack her character and attack the organization, but none of that is going to change that she gathered data, she operationalized her terms, she drew her conclusions based on the theories that she was looking for. And also, part of her work is inductive. It's looking for things like how political influencers use the same techniques as brand influencers, and that within a YouTube framework, which encourages this kind of branding, is a very unique phenomenon. So in some ways, she's groundbreaking as well. So yeah, it's not a complete study. I can obviously see this isn't something you'd publish in a. It wouldn't be enough to get it published in a peer-reviewed journal, but it's a really good insight to a much bigger project, I think, that has a couple papers that could come out of it.
Yeah, well, this is my point, actually. Sorry, John, I'll let you in a second. Like I say, I think it's a really interesting piece of work, but that's all this can be for now, because in so many other fields of sociology and politics and all the rest of it, there are lots of people working on it, and there are various studies. And like you say, there's a certain high threshold for getting into like a peer-reviewed journal. But this is basically the only paper I've ever seen on this topic.
Well, I've just given Thomas Smith an insight to one of my colleagues who's looking at what matters more in video game sexism, the images of the game, or how participants interact online in the games. But I guess you're looking at a YouTube perspective, right, Kevin?
Yes and no. I mean, it's not just YouTube, obviously, but the internet in general, the more alternative cultural spheres have not been studied, partly because they're relatively new, of course, but also they some of the older generation don't necessarily see the potential for how this radicalizing how these radicalizing medias can be used in the way that they are.
Yeah.
And so there are very, very few people working, or certainly very few people who've published on this. Not that they say that they're not working on it, and it may be published soon, but this is the only one of its kind I can think of.
Yeah, if you look in the, I mean, she's citing a lot of other articles from digital new media journals. And so I think those are up and coming, but you're right, they're probably only 3 or 4 years old. And I know that on an archiving status from BASIS's perspective, we're doing a lot to capture Twitter data and other social media data. And they even there's this process called rehydrating when you take the data, like a tweet, and you minimize it so that it's smaller. And then you have to go back and sort of like a zip file and rehydrate the data because the files are so large, you can't just store them normally. So yeah, I think there is a lot of interest in this. The problem is, how do you capture the data? And a lot of times, and sometimes it's easy like Twitter, but then Twitter isn't really representative. So there's a lot of challenges to social sciences, and it is a blend of communications and sociology and psychology going on. It's a really interesting work, and feminist critique and other critiques as well. So
yes.
All right, so I'm going to throw it open to the group then. First, did anyone else read part of it that they want to comment? And then for people who haven't read it, maybe give reactions to what you've heard. So if you can nominate yourselves, I'll run it like a seminar.
I would just say I haven't read it, but I have listened to portions of when Destiny had Dr. Lehman on. They went through it together. They seem to not outright oppose it or think they throw it out, but they have criticized the sample size and this wouldn't hold up to peer review. But I don't think that was
no,
the purpose.
that's not true. No, can I tell them what they were wrong? Okay, so the sample size is a time period. You can do this same exact piece of research in a different time period, and you'll come up with probably a lot of the same people, but a slightly different network because you're looking at a different time period. This, if she includes the data, which most studies now require you to include the data, the peers would maybe look at the coding and say, hey, I think Destiny is wrong, for instance, or you need to make these things clear and give feedback, and some of it might change a little bit, but the results wouldn't change necessarily. They're not going to. So I would completely disagree. As somebody who has actually done peer review on political communications for leaders and things like that, and looked at this kind of data, I think this report, like I said, isn't something you submit for peer review. But the data she's done and collected could definitely be submitted in a peer review written article.
Did you just pull fucking peer review rank?
Oh yeah.
I like it.
Oh yeah.
That was quite hot. I have to say.
That's what I expected for Kristi Winters, but no. But what was I about to say?
That's some pushback.
Yeah, but I think this paper is still a good starting point. I mean, people can always do more research, and I'm all for that. And with more research, this is just this can be a good central starting point of this kind of topic. And I'm just glad that like Kevin said that at least people are talking about it.
Who's up next?
Well, I didn't read the whole thing because I'm not Kevin, and
you're a normal person.
I'm a normal.
Exactly. You probably enjoyed some nice time with family and friends.
Wait! Be careful. Kristi. No. You said that we weren't going to talk about that. I've been good. I didn't.
You took down all the goat pictures in the background.
You did it again. Fuck you.
Okay. Yeah, if you hear
any... Okay. Stifle yourself.
Tom has a talking stick.
Okay. Now what I was going to say? Oh yeah. I did look at. I looked at the methods. Some of the sample materials, the people and the time frame and all that kind of stuff, and the conclusions. It's how I typically scan, any kind of scientific paper, and I guess my going into it, my thought was from what I'd heard, and a lot of it was secondhand about the assholes talking smack about it. I was thinking it might be useful, but a very slender reed upon which to lean much, credence or make many heavy-duty deductions. But when I read methods and the more I read, especially the conclusions, it seems a lot stronger than I thought it was, and a lot more useful. And as you said, Kristi, it's not so much that's the be all and end all, but it is a model to use for further research, and it's also data, some massive data for that particular time period. And you could take a snapshot a year later or 6 months later of a similar time period and see, what had changed, or if there were differences, and this kind of work out whether or not that was an evolution of this whole end of the spectrum, or if it's just just dipping, just a function of when you dip your toe into the pool,
Right,
or
like
the
an
river.
experiment.
Yeah. But anyway, I think it's useful, and I would of course not tell him this, so don't listen, Kevin. But I would defer to Kevin on its usefulness in the fray, in the on the front lines of this, of reviewing it and looking at things. So I would defer to him. And now you can have Kevin turn his headphones back on.
Tom.
What?
Say that again for me. Say that again.
Nope.
I didn't
missed
catch
it.
that. Go on.
You missed it. It's not coming back.
Kevin's got a new ringtone. Tom
It's
giving him
not
a
coming
compliment.
back, just like the fucking goat isn't coming back, bitch.
Yeah, to your point, Tom.
One thing I gotta say this.
Yeah.
You brought it up, Kristi. You started this. It's your fault. I got one thing to say to you, Kevin.
Go on then.
Feline fricassee.
Ooh, mic drop. All right. So on your point, yeah, one thing that's a massive contribution to this, I'm not letting Kevin get the last word, is the data. I would assume, again, if she's going to submit this for publication, there's a real open science trend in the social sciences. You have to, just like in the natural sciences, you have to publish your data so that other people can look at it and use it and see if they can replicate your results. And just her work of spending all that time, I mean, literally from, what was it? I guess I should look at the dates, but it was over a year. All the content going through and coding the participants of all of those 4-hour hangouts. That was massive amount of work. So that in itself is a massive contribution to science, because now we can look at that data. Other people can use that data and maybe combine it with other viewing data or other kinds of data from the same time period, or compare it with data from later time periods, as you pointed out. So, yeah. Anyone else? How about if we can get Mariana? Do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, also one other thing too, before you say that, is we all know in some ways this is she's articulating what we've all commented on in the past, which is people like Shuan had an armored skeptic are in some ways trapped by their audience. They can't go against Trump, otherwise they're going to start making less money. And so this ends up shaping the kind of content they produce in order to make their audience happy, which influences new people who are coming and being exposed to
I don't think I have a violin small enough for those people, honestly. I live with $300 a month. Okay? Put that in your head. And I will never, ever, ever, for all the money in the world, do what they do. There's no excuse. I don't think. If they stop gathering to the fash, they will lose their audience. Then lose your fash audience, for fuck's sake. Ooh.
Was it true? Is it true that Marie Le Pen was committed or sent for evaluation? Is that?
Yeah, she was sent for evaluation. Yeah, okay. But she's not crazy. She's just racist. So I don't really know what they're expecting to find. So,
You know, they used to treat homosexuality like a mental illness and they had conversion therapy. What if we treated racism like a mental illness and there was non-racist, like not be a racist conversion therapy? Oh, that was the giving into the...
Because I
Well,
don't
that's-
think mentally ill people need more
Fair enough.
stigmatization.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
That's yeah. And also you've got to think about poor Mike. You've got to think about Mike Pence because that would trap him in like a kind of Gordian knot of madness. He would have to oppose conversion therapy, but also be subject to it. So it would just drive him mad. I think.
I think they all suffer from a condition that is not a mental illness. I don't know what it is, but those people, Trump, Mike Pence, Le Pen, and they're not right in the head. Like,
It's being an ass.
Yeah, it's being an entitled asshole that's never learned that they can't always get what they want.
I should have listened to the
yeah, I
Jacket.
guess so.
Yeah, definitely,
But
Kevin. I'm with you.
I'm then through me when I can't get what I want, but you know, I'm normal even if I'm mentally ill. So I am a crazy, but I'm normal, unlike them.
Do you find sometimes though you still get what you need?
Yes.
So, Marianne, I hear you giggling. I was going to ask for your erections and then Joe's.
So I think this thing is very interesting, and I'd really love to see someone do the same thing with the anti-vaxxer ultimate crowd.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting because you have the entry drug of Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, which can be summed up as no, don't put that up your vag.
That's a good rule generally. I
That
find.
sounds like a great game show as well.
It's a Japanese game show.
Instead of buzzers, you just have ooh.
Well, I don't think you'd say ooh if it's raw garlic.
No, then you go ah.
Yeah.
You're trying to hold off vampires down there. What do you want me to do?
Speak for yourself. I cook with garlic with everything, so I might like that smell.
Just a
But
quick
not in
word
your
for
vag.
Kevin. Don't sprinkle. I don't remember what it was on your dick, please.
I will. Don't tell me what to do. I will sprinkle whatever I wish on the end of my penis.
What was it? Raw onion? I don't remember.
I can't remember. It was something weird. Mind you, I say
That's
that
what
like
she
it's
said.
something normal you could sprinkle on the
It's
end of your penis.
silly stuff I posted on my Facebook page where you know the stuff you do when you take the first letter of your name, your birth date, and it was something like that with woo medicine. And
Yes.
it was completely silly and very, very funny.
Yeah, it was something about sprinkle some like healing crystals on your third eye, and I misinterpreted what third eye was on purpose for comedic effect. Because that's literally all I've got. I can't do serious.
I sprinkle garlic on something in order to get like sexual arousal or something like that. Or no, to increase
You mean the
performance in the
food?
bed.
You mean the food?
Yes.
Not on parts. All right, so moving on.
No, I sprinkle.
Yeah, let's move on.
That sounds like a trip to the hospital.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Keep it away from your bits. Joe, you were the last one. You haven't had a chance to talk very much, so I wanted to make sure you had a chance.
I was
to
just listening. I actually didn't read the entirety of the report, just essentially the web page that you had sent that had the download on it, because I didn't notice that until this morning and didn't make time for it. But I've actually seen not this chart, but the the pretend other version of it.
Oh yeah.
That Kevin features on. Good job, Kevin.
Yeah, well, I was going to bring that up later, but
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to
Oh
that.
yeah, with the Muslim Brotherhood on the left.
Yeah.
Right.
But as we were as I was reading that with essentially that went over some of the highlights, and also as everyone else was talking about the things, it made me wonder how much of the, you know, and just thinking about the other chart, because personally, you know, I found a lot of people through similar connections on the other side of the spectrum, and I've also found myself getting, you know, pushed further and further left. So I wonder how much of that actually does exist on the other side, given that, you know, the other things just clearly, you know, like, oh look, you know, we can do it too, and add like Muslim brotherhoods and that, but you know, I don't know. I always think if there's even a little bit of credence in stupid things people put together.
Well, in terms of influencers, I mean, yeah, there's still, you could probably do the same thing on the left. The fact is, but the difference is Kevin has about 8,000 subs. I have 7, whereas Sargon on his main channel has, you know, 800 plus.
And also just looking even at just my own recommendations, the way they do it has to be more effective, because I only I don't watch their videos, but for some reason my recommendations are just filled with them, and I can't imagine that happens the other way around.
Yeah. No.
I mean,
when Carvin put Sargon in his title, that's going to trigger something, you know, to put more Sargon titles in your recommendations, but I don't think it works the other way with Kevin Logan.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, honestly, because of the shit that YouTube recommends, I was always hesitant. It's like, I don't know if I should watch Cook Philosophy, but I did watch the video. It's like, oh no, he's good. He's on the left, and he's like does actual research or does actually like cite the sources and stuff like that. So, and then it's like, I don't know, I should watch the Council of Geeks. It's like, no, they're gender flexible and gender fluid, so like they seem to be on the left too. So it's like I'm really hesitant to like watch anything new that YouTube recommends and stuff like that. But yet sometimes it does work on the opposite side, where it's like Peter Coffin has noticed that like some of his patrons, they will be patrons of other people like Secular Talks or Kyle Kalinske, and so I noticed that like other left-ish people that they become patrons of eventually come to Peter Coffin. Same thing with Ollie from Philosophy Tooth. He said like someone was a subscriber to Jenny Mickelson, that's sub to Lindsay Ellis, who then sub to Dan Olson, who then sub to ContraPoints, or Lindsay Ellis to ContraPoints to Dan Olson, and then eventually to Ollie from Philosophy Tube. So it can work on the other side, but yeah, from my recommendations, it seems to like not.
Yeah,
or
all the
usually.
critical YouTubers I follow today, I have all known them by Garrett.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, so this is a valid phenomenon that happens. I think the context of this, though, is that, you know, Kevin and I aren't platforming people who are calling for, you know, the overthrow of democracy in order to impose some post.
Oh yeah, the phenomenon in itself isn't the bad thing; it's what they promote.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And that they're basically connecting people up to people like Richard Spencer. And those people are anti-democracy, and they want to separate people based on race, and they want fascism, and that's dangerous. So that's why these connections all matter, because of that system we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm actually going to do the second path first, and then we're going to go back to the controversial one, because I think this one actually is a better illustration of the logic of it. So these graphs show examples of collaborative connections between influencers of differing ideologies and how these collaborations cause pathways to radicalization. So not everybody on here is far right. You know, V and Sargon and all these people, Dave Rubin, they're pathways to radicalization, because they market themselves in that way. So Network Path 1 illustrates
Sargon is in UKIP now, so we can safely say that it's far right now.
Oh, yeah. So Network Path 1 illustrates how the classical liberal, Dave Rubin, and the white nationalist Colin Robinson, Millennial Woes, are only separated by 2 degrees through the anti-feminist Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, who has appeared on both of their channels. Network Path 2 shows how connections between pundit Ben Shapiro is connected to white nationalist Richard Spencer through the vlogger and commentator Roaming Millennial. She has appeared on Shapiro's YouTube show and has hosted Spencer for an extended interview on her channel. And then for more on how these collaborations can create radicalization pathways, see page 35, which we've kind of covered. So this is her representation of the nodes of connections. And this is just like the ways that you end up with pathways to radicalization and where the strongest connections were for the dates of January 1st, 2017 through April 1st of 2018. So what is that, like 16 months? Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. Think about the number of times Mr. Medicare has appeared on different things. Yeah. So anyway, this is the really controversial one. And you can see because of the time period, Andy Worski has a huge an influence. Basically, this is the influencers. The size indicates how much an influencer is a conduit to other influences. So the bigger you are on the map, the more people you filter, you connect up, and then the color gets darker the more intense it is. Or let's see. Sorry, let me see. Color indicates an influencer's total connectivity within the network or how close the influence is to all other influencers. So yeah, sorry, intensity. So yeah, Kevin, did you want to talk about this map at all, or more specifically, what happened to this map online? Oh, Kevin, are you still with us? I can't see because I'm screen sharing.
Kevin's screen appears to have froze on my end.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, maybe he can F5 and rejoin us. So, did anyone else see the fake version of this?
I did. It was.
I did, and I was very confused before Kevin explained that it was a troll who did it.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. So someone
And
basically.
here I was looking to subscribe to the Antifa YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's not surprising. People just don't understand Antifa. It's not an organization. It's not a group. It's just it's a methodology. It's a movement. Here's Kevin again.
Antifa is a way of life.
Exactly.
Yes. So, Kevin, we were talking about the poor attempt at a meme based on this map.
Hello.
Yes, you're here.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Right. I was just and I'll screen share because I've got my
Okay.
the poor attempt at a meme by some random conservative, well, not even conservative, fash piece of garbage. If you just can you see my screen? Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
And I will log
Awesome.
on you.
There I am. I'm on the thing with various other people. Curiosity there, just below creationist cat, which is definitely illegal. And there's so many things that are wrong with Anjem Choudhury, Muslim fundamentalist, extremist, madman who believes that women and children shouldn't have any rights. Apparently, he's on the left. As are Hezbollah,
Yeah, the
Muslim
Hezbollah channel.
Brotherhood.
That's huge.
Yeah, and of course the well-known YouTuber Bernie Sanders. Yeah, brilliant. Well done. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. But that made me laugh, and I was quite proud because I mean, to be politically aligned with Hezbollah would be bad, but you've got to say they've got a significant media pull. That's good publicity for me, I think. If I'm on that level, you know what I mean.
Yes. So that was how the right reacted, basically, sort of by stomping their feet. I saw a lot of the time. I haven't seen the Destiny thing yet, but I would push back on the idea that this research could be published in a peer-reviewed journal. This report obviously couldn't, but it certainly has the potential. It could actually be a very important contribution that would be highly cited going forward when looking at radicalism on YouTube, to be honest, because it could be related with terrorist content or any other content, conspiracy theory, what literally, sort of whatever, and look at frameworks and stuff. So
yeah, I think you could do a very interesting Alex Jones or Stefan Molyneux specific version of that graph.
Yep, exactly. And to be fair to Desi and Dr. Lehman, they didn't like disagree with kind of like either what the paper's trying to get across. They were just kind of like picking it apart, nitpicking it in a way from what I saw in the first 30 minutes of it. And people have suggested in the live chat want to bring Destiny and Dr. Lehman on. I mean, that could be possibly a topic for a show for a happy hour. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no problem, Joe. So I would just say that I would prefer because the report is just a summary. It's not the data themselves. And so I would prefer, if I was going to talk about it, to actually have a chance to look at the data and look at her coding methods and evaluate them for myself.
Of course you want to look at fucking coding methods.
Of course.
you do. Yeah.
Because it would have been helpful if she had done a double-blind coding.
I was thinking exactly that thing, Kristi.
It's the kind of way to do experiments when you get blindfolded. No.
Tell us more.
So overall, I think it's an important contribution. And people who are mad, I know I'm sure that there's a sort of like, well, Sargon isn't far right. He went on to the channel to, debate and disprove.
Well, apart from he's joined UKIP, so he is.
Yeah. But again, that's not the point of the paper. The point of the paper isn't to segment these into their ideological spheres, right? It's to look at how people would come from one channel and move across the spectrum to end up at Richard Spencer or Enoch. And it's through these people, because they're the ones platforming them. And these are they're saying, oh, free speech. And then they get mad when their role in being a pathway to radicalization is pointed out. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's unfortunately where I think, as much as I've got no real problem with Destiny, but if we're going to go along the lines of them giving platforms to these people or whatever, then yeah, he does belong on that. He's had a number of these people on his channel.
Yep.
Just like PragerU and Dave Rubin. They're all part of this inner feeding of guest appearances. Go check out their channel. Those people.
Well, every time Dave Rubin says, I don't give the platforms to the extremists, blah, 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 I just play that clip of him saying about Paul Joseph Watson, oh, well, you don't seem like a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Well, you're done. You're done. Your credibility gone.
Yeah, or just play any clip where like Stefan Molyneux says wherever he will say, and Dave Rubin goes, "Oh, that's interesting."
Yeah, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pathetic.
Well, guys, it's been about an hour. We got Tom's report. We got through this report. I think I'm feeling pretty smarted out. I don't know about the rest of you, but should we call it does anyone want to bring anything up before we head out, though?
There has been like some interesting conversations that's happening in the live chat, but like something is like happened way back in PC Myers' live chat and a very subject. APC, I think trying to find something interesting. People can just like look back into it.
You don't have to find something interesting, John. you can just say what I say. The chat were useless. You offered nothing but value.
Although the three of us on our last happy hour were useless because we didn't realize until we got off air that neither Jonathan nor I had given an answer to the pub quiz question. So maybe, Jonathan, can you say again what the answer was you were looking for?
So I asked, name another director that worked on at Studio Ghibli. One answer I was looking for was Ichio Takahata, who passed away earlier this year. He directed Pompoko, Graves of the Firefly, My Neighbors the Yamatas, and Tales of Princess Kaguya. But like, just name another director that worked at the Studio Ghibli, and I had to like. I had to like Wikipedia for the rest and stuff like that, and also to the answer to your question, yes, I am a geek. I warned them it would be geeky. Next time I'll just like, hey, can we use this as a pub quiz question if I'm ever on again? Before we're on there.
John, if you ever come on again, you're not doing a pub quiz question.
Fair enough.
You lost the privileges. Yeah. But then we never said it was.
We trusted you, and you didn't reciprocate with responsibility, so you have your privilege taken away.
And the capital of Colorado, Kevin?
It's Denver.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you knew it last night.
You
want to check if you still knew it?
Yeah. Like I said, I only know two towns. I know Denver and Boulder, and that's it.
Yeah.
It was one of those two.
And I got it wrong. 50-50 chance, but that's all right. Okay, guys. Well, so Jonathan, we talked about what you wanted to talk about. Sorry, I got distracted there. So, yeah, guys, thanks for coming by and listening to the Hangout. We're going to have an after show chat now. But for the
Wait.
rest of you-
Okay. Okay, but since you have like surpassed 7,000 subscribers,
Bye.
I'll set. Bye, Joe.
Bye,
Also,
Joe.
Hi.
Thanks for stopping by.
also by
Bye,
drinking a
Joe.
little. Drinking a little honey wine, some blackberry mead, and this one with goat on it. It's somehow tied in with some parts of the earlier conversation. But for you, Kristi, for surpassing at least 7,000 subscribers, it's a small victory, but it's still something. I pour this booze and I drink this booze because I think it's yummy. So over the tongue and down my throat to party in my tummy. Down the hola bajola.
Over the lips and over the tongue. There was something you said was going to rhyme with goat, and I was going to try to make a play on the goat label. But thank you very much, Jonathan. I kind of not noticed, but I appreciate you did. So thank you very, very much. And on
This is very triggering, you people.
on that goat-faced,
I have to tell you.
on that goat-faced wine bottle ending.
Wait.
bombshell.
This is the first time that Tom and Kevin are in the hangout together. Tom, Kevin, do you have something to say to each other?
I have something to say to Kevin.
I love you dearly, Tom, and I've always appreciated your existence. I worship the ground you walk on.
I have to say to you, Kevin, we are going to discover whether you love your cat more than you hate me.
I don't hate you. I just want to steal your farmyard animals. It's a kind of very, very specific kleptomania.
Maybe we can work on a custody arrangement. You know, week on, week off, transportation.
No.
Okay, I will amend that to say, okay, we will discover, Kevin, whether your mania is stronger than your love for your cat.
My cat.
He is a maniac on the floor, and he dances like he never danced before.
I don't know.
That's what I think.
I will occasionally drop it like it's hot. Yeah.
drop it like it's hot.
I just did.
Drop.
You couldn't see because the camera's off, but I did. Honest.
All right, I'm trying to end this thing. All right, guys. I've been Kristi. You guys in the chat have been awesome. My patrons have been awesome. Kevin's been awesome for coming on.
I can't. Well, the thing is, because it's your hangout, I can't say what I usually say because it's not my audience.
Wait a minute! I thought you loved going on other people's channels to just berate the chat or whatever.
Occasionally, but
You can be
I don't feel wrong. I'm an expert. I've been invited on as an expert, so I have to be professional.
Well, you can say for the patrons. I think they're all actually kind of going to feel disappointed if they don't get one from you, Kevin.
Yeah, fuck you, Kevin.
So you can't invite the French on. They have to use foul language. Bunch of fucking pricks. Jesus.
Kevin, I appreciate everything you do, as well as you, Kristi, as well as everyone here.
All right, guys. Goodbye from the patrons. Say goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
And goodbye from me.
Kristi.
Goodbye, you guys.